In the Parsha, we have the story of the snakes, the copper snake, to ward off the regular snakes. What's interesting in the story over here is that we don't really know what's going on. Is this a miracle? Is this not a miracle? What's happening over here? After Aaron dies, then it says, "Vaydaber ha'am be'elokim of Moshe." God, the people speak about a God, and they speak about Moshe. Why'd you bring us out of here to die in the midbar? Kien lachem, there's no bread. V'yein mayim, there's no water. V'nafshenu katza, and our souls are despised. Ba'lechem ha'klokel, by this tasteless or disgusting or degrading bread. First of all, you tell me there's no bread. Then you tell me we don't like this bread. Well, there is bread, but you don't like it. But what happens after that? Hashem sends es hanechashim asrofim. He sends the burning serpents, the fiery serpents, and it bites the Jewish people, the Am, let's say the Am over here, and many of them die from the Jewish people. So they go and complain to Moshe, and they say, "We have sinned. We've spoken about Hashem and about you. Please pray to Hashem and take away this nachash, take away in the singular, take away the snake." Moshe Baram, and he prays, and Hashem says to him, "Make for you a saraf, a fiery something, and put it on a stick. And anyone who is bitten, he will see it and he will live." And Moshe makes a nachash nechoshes. Now instead of the saraf, he makes a nachash nechoshes, a copper snake, puts it on the stick, and therefore anyone who would see it, they would look at it and they would be able to live. Many questions, of course, on this whole story over here. Just to present to you two things. One is that in the book of Kings, Chizkiyahu, when he goes to reformulate the Jewish people because of the fact that they've been sinning, they've been doing idol worship, at this point in the book of Kings in Malachim Beis, he goes and he destroys the copper snake, because people were actually serving it as an idol. They were bringing things to it, which means this copper snake was not just something that existed in the desert. It existed for a long period of time, to the times of Chizkiyahu, where he now had to destroy it because they saw this as some magical power that they were serving. They were actually worshiping this, as if that somehow it gave the power, whether healing or more, they were worshiping it. That's number one, just to point out the time frame of how long the copper snake actually lasted. Number two, the Or HaChaim points out over here that what is going on over here? They complain, yet they don't all get wiped out, and they're not designated for another 40 years in the midbar. Rather, they're simply killed on the spot by these snakes, but there's a potential healing available to them. So the Or HaChaim says, wait a minute, when it came to the Meraglim, when it came to the spies, the spies are destined to death right there on the spot, and everyone else had 40 years. 40 years of living of going through the desert again. What's the distinction? So he points out, if you actually look at the words over here, even with their complaints against Moshe, they weren't looking for a new leader to take them back to Mitzrayim. In the case of the spies, they were looking for a new leader. They wanted to formulate everything back. But in the case of Moshe over here, in the case of this snake in particular here in this area, they were just in a state of complaint mode. They were in such a state that they couldn't actually focus on what was right, but they weren't actually looking to make an upheaval over here. They were just not happy with their current situations. For this reason, when you're not happy with that current situation, you complain enough to Hashem about it, so that's when the Nechashim actually come, that's when these snakes actually come. But it's not enough to actually give them total destruction in 40 more years. But of course, a person suffers when they sit and complain to Hashem, as opposed to turning to Hashem in prayer. They complain and they make Hashem as the one who's causing them the pain, as opposed to seeing Hashem as on their side.